Hello everybody, we are making a video again, which is something I don't do very often anymore. But I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine where I thought about EVs in Norway and kind of Europe. And then we compared it to the States, and then we start talking about economics in it. So what I'm gonna look into here is the consumption, where we compare ICE cars versus EVs. I was just googling the average miles per gallon, and it said about 25 is the average in USA. And that's with, I think it's like 55% in the city and 45 on the highway percentage that people are driving. So yeah, it can be various, but like that's about the average. Anyway, so like the older cars, they have shorter distance per liter or per gallon in comparison to the newer cars. Here we see kilometers per liter, and I think the 9.4 is about 25 miles per gallon, if I remember correctly. And here you see the new ones, they're like 16, they're like 60% more efficient. So it's kind of hard, to compare because you say you have a lot of older cars, but we will look into different cases on that topic. So what I have already inputted here is kind of like a short list, good to know, like how much 1 US gallon is in liters, because 1 US gallon is not the same as 1 British gallon, or imperial I should say. And then we have 1 USD, how much that is in Norwegian kronos. So yeah. So what I did here, first of all, I just put up the EV stuff in this table, or it's not like really a table, but yeah, you get the idea. And then I did the same for ICE cars. So first of all, we see the price per kilowatt hour for 1 kilowatt hour in USD, and approximately the price also in Norway. I would say maybe it's closer to 1.5. It depends a bit on how you calculate it. But yeah, about 1.2 is acceptable to put in here. And then the consumption per 10 kilometers, because we have something called in Norway 1 mil, M-I-L, not 1 mile, but mil. So 1 mil equals 10 kilometers. Well, yeah, 1 mile equals about 1.61 kilometers. So that's a difference to bear in mind when we are calculating. So if we do the same consumption kilowatt hours per mile, we calculate it by 1.61. So yeah, divided by 10 because of the 10 kilometers, and we multiply it by 1.61. So calculating the price in Norway, yeah, equals D7 Norwegian, I mean, it's like B3 that's divided by because of the price, you know. But yeah. So the Norwegian kronos per kilowatt hours, and then you multiplicate it by the consumption, and then we divide it by 9.7 to get it in USD. And you see, we get about 0.25 or 25 dollar cents per 10 kilometer. And 10 kilometers in miles is approximately 6.2 miles. So I did the same thing more or less for the USD. Then the consumption per mile. And then we multiplicate it by 6.2 to get it in miles per 6.2 miles, sorry. So yeah, it's a bit more expensive in USA in comparison to Norway when you have the home charging. And that is due to what we call Norgespris that I'm using and that I have. So Norgespris is an optional government-funded electricity support scheme in Norway that provides a predictable fixed price of 0.50 NOK per kilowatt hour, including VAT, for households and holiday homes. And yeah, we don't know how that's gonna be after this year yet. We will know that when the budget from the governmental side arrives in October, I believe it is. And then they will have to, agree on it, discuss it, and readjust it. So we will see. But the thing is, you see, I said 1.2. And that's because, you have a price, think about a spot price. So 0.5, but then there is also some consumption, whether it's the daytime or the nighttime, in additional per kilowatt hour. So let's say that's about 50, so you get 1 Norwegian kroner. I could set it to be 1, but I set it to be 1.2. Just to add on a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. And then we have 1 US gallon, which, it's kind of hard to predict what it's gonna be because of the war in Iran. Before the war, the gallon was about 3 USD per gallon. So yeah. And then we put a price to be approximately 18 Norwegian kronos per liter. Some places that might be 21 Norwegian kronos. But I'm just, it's about in the limit. And then the consumption per 10 kilometers, we like to talk about the consumption per meal. And then we are just going by the stats, 25 US miles per gallon. So the prices are about approximately 0.93 USD for 10 kilometers in Norway and 1.02 USD for 6.2 miles. That's just approximately. It's not 100% correct, but yeah. So is the price per gallon times by 6.2 miles divided by 25. That's the calculation of it. To get it for about, 6.2 miles. And then we compare it, driving an EV in USA compared to an ICE car, and how much money you save per mile by going electricity. And then I was looking up how much an American drives approximately per year in average. Is between 13 to 15,000 miles. But I went by 12. Close enough. So you save approximately $1,250 per year going with an EV. And then we did the same thing here in Norway, and you see it's about the same. So what if we go by 30? There we go. Yeah, you save a little bit of money on that with a better, newer car. But still, like, the EV is so much more superior. So what if the price for the price for one US gallon falls down to about $3 USD? You still save about $500 a year. And now we are just playing around with numbers. But then, what if the consumption for a smaller EV, let's say 1.5 kilowatt hour per meal? Like, yeah, you can play around with numbers, but like an estimate somewhere between $500 to $1,300 a year is being saved. So I guess that's it for now with that part. Like, I've been like searching all over the place. For instance, what about the electricity price in the US? And it's gonna be laborious, and also it depends on your agreement or plan for the electricity. Where was it? There was a website there. There we go. There we go. So, like, here in Georgia, depending on how much electricity you use per month, you can save money on that per kilowatt hour. Summer and winter. And like, there is so much differences. It's kind of hard to, you know, make an average for comparison, but I just went by the Google search and I set it to $18.50 per kilowatt hour. And that's why we ended up with these numbers. So yeah, that's it for now, and I will see you later. Bye for now.